Released in 2016 and developed by Coldwood Interactive and published by EA, it's Unravel. What you're seeing now on screen is the PlayStation 4 version of the game running on a standard PlayStation 4. However, the game is also available on Xbox One and PC. Coldwood Interactive are a small studio based out of northern Sweden who previously worked on a number of ski racing and Ski-Doo games, as well as a couple of PlayStation Move games for the PlayStation 3. But what interests me about Unravel is that this game is a product of the EA machine. The same machine that pumps out annual sports titles, Battlefield, Warfighters, and all things Star Wars related video games. Some of which end up getting axed, others adapted under air quotes, market research, and end up like Battlefront 2. But despite all this charming little puzzle platformer fell through the cogs of it all, and I thought it would be interesting to give it a go. In Unravel, you play as Yarny, a small little yarn man out to collect various yarn badges at different levels, that then restore photos in a photo album of children that belong to an older woman you see at the start of the game. Most of the game's storytelling in general is pretty ambiguous, but I'm sure it all means something to someone. Much of the game, though, can be summarized as a platformer in which you progress by solving physics puzzles, dodging obstacles, and all the while keeping check that you have enough yarn to keep moving. But is Unravel any good? Or does it trip and fall on its own yarn? Let's find out first with the good. In many ways, Unravel reminds me of Limbo, at least in terms of design and mechanics, which is a good thing. Many of the puzzles you'll stumble on will require Yarny to move stuff around and experiment with physics. Everything like things you'd expect, such as moving a block to the end of a stick on a rock, mimicking that of a teeter-totter, to things such as raising a bucket out of a well so you can hide under it to avoid angry crows. However, what differentiates Unravel from other puzzle platformers are the yarn mechanics. Yarny has the ability to tie knots on various marked areas in the level and create ramps to move objects on, or even create a trampoline to jump higher. Yarny can also create a lasso and latch onto various designated points and swing around the environment, or even scale various objects and walls, or a combination of both. And many of the puzzles in this game are built around these mechanics in both interesting and challenging ways. While doing all of this, Yarny will slowly begin to unravel, hence the name of the game, and if you use up too much of yourself, you'll have to backtrack and find a route that uses less. But generally, the game is very forgiving in the amount of yarn you have at any given moment, and with the locations and spools of the environment that replenish you. Each stage also contains 5 hidden collectibles in the form of yarn buttons, some of which are hidden in the most ridiculous places. All of this adds up to a surprisingly lengthy game, for a platformer anyways. I personally clocked in a little over 7 hours before completing the game, but easily the most standout aspect of Unravel, if you can already tell, is simply how gorgeous this game looks. There were a number of moments in this game where I just stopped and simply took a screenshot to show it off to people. The environments and art direction in this game are on point. Not to forget the animation work as well, notably the death animations. I couldn't help but chuckle at how brutal the death animation was when Yarny accidentally got too close to a crab. Not to forget some of the scripted events in this game, such as animals walking in the background for example, and other set pieces look absolutely fantastic. Despite the game lacking any major narrative, I kept progressing just to simply see it all. But now let's discuss what never looks good. With the bad. Or in this case, what doesn't necessarily sound all that great with the soundtrack. It's nothing really air quotes bad, but it's not exactly memorable either. If you're a fan of violins, you're gonna love it, but personally, at times when I was stuck in an area for more than 10 minutes, it began to drive me sort of insane. However, probably the biggest issue I had with Unravel was the physics, but more specifically, how unpredictable they can be. I had a number of moments with various physics puzzles where I wasn't sure if I solved it the intended way due to the physics acting odd. Take for example this metal beam section. Normally, I think you're supposed to keep running back and forth on it until you can finally jump to the next area, but after trying for a few minutes, suddenly the beam spazzed out randomly and I was able to jump over with no problems. I had a number of similar moments like this that left me confused, wondering if it was intended or if the physics were acting up. The swinging mechanics in this game also don't feel as precise as I'd want them to be. I had a number of moments where I felt like I had more than enough momentum, let go, and ended up dropping like a rock. Then other times I completely overshoot things, once again leaving me wondering if the physics were just acting up. But, if there is one thing I'm sure of, it's the opinion. Despite the story being pretty ambiguous, not all that interesting to me, and some wacky physics at times, Unravel is still one of the better puzzle platformers I've played. This game is a clear example that EA can still surprise us. But here's hoping they keep doing that, as opposed to mimicking Konami and attempt at piss-poor gambling with their IPs. But now it's time I give the rating. I give this 272 yarn jolts out of 10. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and our Facebook page. And as always, thank you for watching.